Today, I have the opportunity to speak to Davette Wheat. And Davette Wheat is a life coach. But what is so cool about Davette is she also marries numerology and Christianity together to help you understand your life path and some of the decisions you might want to make going forward. So with that, Davette, welcome to our little get-together here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I just love talking about, I geek out on this stuff. So this is really fun. So thank you.
Perfect. Well, I don't know a whole lot about what you do. And so maybe you could just go ahead and tell us about your career.
Awesome. So really interesting. So I'm a numerologist and a life path coach. So I work with people who just want what's next in their life. They want to break through their limiting beliefs. They want to heal past traumas, they're dealing with that kind of stuff. And I feel that a lot of it is tied into their life path, their numerology, and their purpose in life. I started researching numerology about 20 years ago. Our friend, Tiffany, introduced me to numerology, and I'm very open-minded. So I'm like, okay, let me look at this. And I decided to look at what the Bible said about numerology. That's kind of my go-to. I'm like, well, what does the Bible say about that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, the Bible uses numerology throughout the whole Bible. There's a book called Numbers, okay? So I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is something I kind of want to dive into a little bit. And then I started realizing how God would change the name of certain people when he would set them on a new mission. Sometimes he would just change the spelling of their name. And I'm like, why would that matter if, it wasn't significant? So I dove in with that mindset and have since applied it to my life, my relationships, my coaching practice, and in other things that I've done, like collections. When I first was researching this, I was in collections for a credit card processing company. And so I had to collect anywhere from $35 to $35,000 or $100,000 from merchants. And that can be a little challenging. So what I would do is I would pull their file and I would look at their birth date. And I'd be like, okay. So I would get what their trigger points are, what their motivating factors were. And it made me so successful in collections. I mean, there was nobody I could not collect from. So I was like, wow, this is a really fascinating tool.
So going back to the whole life path thing, for those people who don't know a lot about numerology or what life path means, could you help us out with that, please?
Absolutely. So the idea of numerology is the date that you were born and the name that you were given at birth have a significant role in how your life unfolds and how you will experience life. So it's not a matter of fortune telling or anything like that. It's very scientific based on the numbers. So I believe that you were born on the day that you were born for a very specific reason. And the name that you were given has this energy, in a sense, of how you will experience life, your destiny, your heart's desire, what you will seek to achieve in life that sometimes can trip you up. So you look at that, and your life path number it comes from your full birth date. And it's really the most important number in numerology. If you just understood the life path number, that's all you need to know. Everything else that comes from that is kind of like the cherry on top. It gives, more detail, but you can really dive in to numerology and just really uncover and decode so many aspects of life. So your life path is your journey, just basically how you will experience your journey in life. And, it does detail certain strengths and certain weaknesses and maybe what you might, struggle with that you would need to overcome. And it's very, it's very revealing.
So if you can use it in collections to collect money from people, does it seem that a salesperson could use numerology to understand the people he's trying to sell his product to?
Absolutely, because you you understand what drives that person. For example, when I started looking at numerology, I came home and I did everybody's numbers, right? So I did my daughters, my parents, guy I was dating, whatnot. And I'm like, it's so fascinating. So I have two daughters, and one is a life path 3 and one is a life path 6. So the life path 3 is about creativity. It's about fun and fashion and expression, and it's colorful. Life path 6 is the natural parent, and that's about more responsibility, more structure, more the home. So I started noticing my daughter, which is a life path 3, she was all into fashion. In fact, when she graduated, she went to 𝗓𝗘𝗏, which is the Fashion Institute, and she's all about decorating. And my other daughter, there were times where I'd be like, okay, I'm the mother, you're the daughter, because she's coming from a parental perspective. And so, she seemed bossy, but I'm like, wow, she can't help it, because that's kind of where she's coming from. So that helped my communicating with them. So, when it's time to make dinner, I knew to ask, my daughter Alyssa, which is a life path 6, to help me in the kitchen, because she'd throw her hair back in a ponytail and she'd be pulling the fat off the chicken, and she's just like ready to go. My other daughter didn't really care to do that. So I would ask her to set the table and like straighten up, and she was, so happy. So instead of trying to make one be like the other, because you see a lot of times parents will say, why can't you be more like your sibling? Right? Because I could have easily done that. Why is, Alyssa always helping in the kitchen, and, you don't want to do that. Instead, I'm like, what? I will just work with who they are and create a happy home.
So going back to collections, can you use that same example? You find out that Mr. Jones is a 3. What do you do with that?
So, so in numerology, there's 9 basic numbers, and they're consistent. A 1 is always represents leadership and independence and structure. So if I pull a file and I see that someone is a life path 1, then I know that they are determined and they need to win. So they need to be first. So then I start thinking, okay, how can I make this person feel like they're winning? Maybe something in a sense of, what, I'm supposed to collect this much from you, but, you win. I'll only, I'll see if I can waive 5 of these fees for you, because you know what, you're the best of really what you do. And I start kind of feeding that ego and, making them feel like, they got, the upper hand and they won. Yeah. So life path 4, for example, they seek security. So then I would use keywords such as, by paying this off, you're securing, the future of your business so that you can continue to accept credit cards as a method of payment. What would you do without that type of security? And I use those keywords, right? 5s, they seek fun, freedom, adventure. So I'm like, what? Life is an adventure. I totally get that. I would be mad too if I have to pay this bill, but you can't make the big money if you don't risk losing some money too. So life's an adventure. You know what? Let's just, I make them laugh and see how I can have fun, with them on the phone. So it worked.
Wow, that is fascinating. So when people come to you and become a client, tell us a little bit about what they're seeking.
So, and it's usually the 3, or a few top things. They want better relationships, or, they want to heal from, whatever traumas that are keeping them from moving forward. They want to make more money, or have better health. So depending on what they want, I'll do their numerology and I'll see what their motivating factors are. So if someone's wanting to lose weight and they're a 5 life path, and I make it fun. I talk about, the freedom and the fun and the adventure of this. Or if they're a life path 7, then I can help them see it in a more spiritual way, of a more, holistic, a more, healthy way. So, so that's kind of my foundation as far as like when I'm working with someone. And of course, there's a lot more in a person than just like what their numbers based on, the home they were raised in, just the conditioning from life. But the core, is consistent with the numerology. So I'll pull that and just kind of see how I can make sure that they're getting those needs met in whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish.
So for somebody who's in sales, they obviously aren't going to know the person's birthday, right? Because they're making a sales call on somebody. So I guess that can be tricky.
That can be tricky because the key is to find out what, their birthday is.
Right.
Sometimes I will just straight ask somebody, or like, in collections, I would pull their file.
Right.
So sometimes maybe if you're taking somebody's information, make their birth date part of it. So you can kind of add it all together real quick and see what motivates them. Outside of that, you can kind of just listen for keywords of, kind of see what they're coming from, as in any sales technique, listening to what they're saying and what their needs are. But if you can get their birthday, that's really, really handy.
I'm starting with a new gal this week, and I'm going to get her birthday.
Yeah. What I've done too is because, sometimes people might be a little weird about that, but I'll look them up on Facebook. And I'll say, I'll find their birthday that way, or find other ways if I think that they're going to be weird about me asking them. Or, sometimes I don't even just really want to ask, but I'm very curious. So, so find ways to get their birthday. And sometimes people have fun with it. And, you could say something like, I've started looking into numerology and I'm just so curious about it. What's your birthday? I'm curious of what, and usually it's fun. And they'll say, oh, cool. Yeah. What does it say about me?
Interesting. So let's see. What else can you tell us that people don't know about what you do or don't understand?
Well, a couple of like really fun facts about it is that I know like Prince was fascinated with numerology. Elvis Presley was completely fascinated with numerology as well. Walt Disney, he was all about numerology, such that Disneyland had to open on a specific day.
Wow.
And it wasn't even ready to open. Like they literally poured the asphalt that morning, but he insisted it open that day. And so if you go to Disneyland, you'll actually see foot imprints on like the sidewalk and the asphalt from that day. But
wow.
He was that committed to it. It had to be that specific day that it had to open. And that was July 17th, 1955.
Wow.
Which it comes out to 8. So I don't know. 8 is the money number. I don't know if that was the driver for him exactly, but he had his reasons. You see things like even in secret societies like the Freemasons, they have like their 33 the top level I think is a 33, do they call it degrees or something like that? You see like it's incorporated, it matters. And I try to take the mystery out of it, or the woo-woo or the culty aspect, because I see it's very scientific. I mean, I think it's part of how God created the world. Everything is numbers if you think about it. I mean, from building a skyscraper to baking a cake to your address, social security number, to dates, times, measure, distance, statistics. I mean, everything is measured in numbers. So it's just so relevant, and people don't realize that it also has a significant role in our lives and how we live that life.
So if somebody goes to an astrologer, will the astrologer give them similar information that a numerologist would?
Yeah, so I've experienced, I'm not huge on astrology. I don't fully understand it just because I haven't dove in, but when I've met with other people that are completely all about astrology, it aligns, it fits, it doesn't contradict at all. And a lot of, I'll put my so I'm a Pisces, and I'll put my astrology in, and it gives me the same like reading, like it identifies with me. It doesn't contradict. It really confirms. So I thought that was really interesting too.
Is there a certain type of profession that might use a numerologist more than another?
You don't really see a lot of people using numerology, but I think that coaches should absolutely use numerology. I think that teachers should use numerology and understand their students. I think that parents should absolutely understand their children and what motivates them and how to serve that child. Think about it. If you're a musician at heart, but you come from a family of doctors, and you're pressured to be a doctor when really that's not your gift. That's not what you're here to do. Then I think that's important to know that. So I would love to have numerology become, something so natural for everybody, that you understand another person's life path, and so we can communicate better and understand each other, and have more peace.
Absolutely. Fantastic. I just love that. Are there other people in your family that are numerologists or life path coaches, or are you blazing the path?
I'm the only one, yeah. So, but I do everybody's numerology, and so they're very aware of it. And some, they'll ask me questions, and it's so funny. I have a cousin who's dating, and she'll ask me, okay, I met this person, this guy, what's his numerology? And they always seem to be sevens. And she's like, oh, she's trying to she doesn't want to date a 7, but she's so attracted. And it's so funny that it's consistent. And I see that in my family when I do their numbers. Well, I've already done their numbers, but when something's coming up, or, we're communicating about something, or somebody's not getting along, and it's like, that's so funny because it just fits. And so it makes sense. And so it brings understanding to the table, It
and you don't bring in any other numbers besides the birthday, is that correct? Or are there, like, if I have something I'm going to do on a certain date, do you incorporate those numbers, or is it specifically the birthday?
So your birth date tells your life path and the name that you were given. They both describe aspects of you, but you definitely can use numerology to break down an address and get an idea of kind of the vibe in the home. You can do your pets. I have a cat that passed away not too long ago, and she was my human form. I've never been this close to an animal, and she was the same life path as me. And I'm like, that is so, before I even really understood that, I just guessed it. I'm like, she has to be. And so we found the date that she was born, and lo and behold, so it does apply to everything, because numbers do have that essence, that vibe. For example, America, July 4th, 1776 is a 5. And so 5 is about fun, freedom, and adventure.
Wow.
And it completely, describes that. And I haven't broken down, but I'm really curious about, what about other countries? The name of the country, the day it was founded. It just, yeah, you can really go down a rabbit's hole.
I bet.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is so fascinating what you do, and I can see how a lot of people could definitely benefit from understanding this. I definitely know I'm going to start using it a little bit more than I have or ever have, right? So I guess what I should ask you is, if people want to get a hold of you, where do they get a hold of you?
Yes, thank you. So I have a website. It's davette.net.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook group for women. That is B Boss. So it's BEBOSS and then 777. So you can join my group there, or you can reach me, through my website, davette.net. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and just look up my name, Davette Wheat, and find me there.
So tell us a little bit about your Facebook group. What happens in your Facebook group?
So I've just launched this Facebook group, and it's for women. It's kind of like a sisterhood of powerful women empowering other women. And I'm incorporating spirituality, Christianity, and numerology, because, I feel that the purpose is really to understand what God created you for and live that purpose. There's a book out there called The 5 Top Regrets of the Dying.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's a woman, I forget her name, Bronnie Brown or something like that.
But, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, so she was a hospice nurse, and she wrote a book on the top 5 regrets. The number 1 regret was not living their purpose.
Oh, wow.
And I feel that a lot of times people don't really know what that purpose is. And so if we can look and you can see, wow, this makes sense to me, and choose a career path based on that, or, say, I don't want to be a doctor, I want to be a musician, or I want to paint paintings or build buildings or teach, then you can have that satisfaction and fulfill your life purpose. So I want to, I'm incorporating the two, and I feel, it's God's purpose for you. There are plenty of verses in the Bible, that before I knew you, I created you, in the womb before I knew you. I have, plans for you, a purpose, and, there's just lots that confirm that you're here for a reason. And that's kind of the message that I want to get out there, is that you have a purpose. You're here for a reason, and you get to be who you are unapologetically. So
when people are in your group, they can find out their life path number and explore that.
I haven't added that aspect yet to it, but that's a great idea, is, maybe putting something together where they can just figure out their life path, because it's really simple. It's really a simple, technique really to do. So, yeah, I should add that in there.
Yeah, there you go. What do you know?
That people will contact me, or women will contact me to, for coaching and stuff like that. But, yeah, I think that would be a great,
It'd be a fun way for people to connect and converse.
Absolutely. Yeah, good idea. I love that. Thank you.
Welcome. Well, it was such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your insight. And I think a lot of people will get a lot out of what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time and, giving me a platform to geek out on this.
Yeah, geek out away. Thank you so much, Davette. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.